Sri Lanka's economic situation is grim,
with food and fuel scarcity,
rising inflation and civil unrest. Former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa fled the country following the worsening situation. It was faulty economic policies that landed the island nation in trouble, a model no nation should emulate. But what if some Indian states were doing exactly this? Hi, I'm Richa Dwivedi and this is The Bottom Line. A humanitarian crisis looms over Sri Lanka. Here's a quick look at what exactly went wrong. Its policies were marred by years of mismanagement. Sri Lanka was importing more, exporting less. The country had a trade deficit and also a budget deficit. Sri Lanka expanded its debt, which means it was borrowing more than it could repay. Investors began fleeing. It banned chemical fertilizers and switched to organic farming, which was another disaster. As a result, it was forced to import rice. Owing to the pandemic, tourism took a hit that resulted in a sharp decline in tourism revenue. The Rajapaksas in their 2019 election campaign promised tax cuts, which means people would have to pay lesser taxes. As a result, they were elected to power with over 52% votes. Also, Rajapaksas used bilateral debt to expand infrastructure, which laid the ground for it falling into China's debt trap. Short-term solutions were announced in the form of freebies. Does this brand of politics sound familiar to you? Now let's talk about India. Indian economy has been one of the most resilient ones in recent times despite changing global dynamics. Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, India's economic growth has been a remarkable one, reflecting in its robust economic policies. One way to understand this is to consider the debt to GDP ratio. This ratio compares a country's public debt to its GDP. In simpler terms, the higher the debt to GDP ratio, the less likely the country will pay back its debt and the higher its risk of default, which could cause a financial panic in domestic and international markets. In Sri Lanka, the debt to GDP ratio stands at 107.2%, while in India it is 73.95%. India's external debt to GDP ratio is even lower at 19.9%. In advanced economies, this ratio is higher. In US, it stands at 127%. Now, this looks great, but what if I tell you some states in India were headed the Sri Lanka way? As per a June 2022 report, the RBI indicated that several states in India are under severe economic stress due to its populist measures. Here are the top states with highest revenue deficit. Rajasthan 3.64%, Punjab 2.64%, Tamil Nadu 2%, Telangana 0.66%. One key factor to note here is that these have been non-BJP ruled states. With the revenue falling, most state governments tend to compromise on the welfare schemes to meet the committed expenditure, including interest payments, expenditure on salaries, pension and subsidies. In this regard, Punjab, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan and West Bengal are India's worst performing states. Between 2017 and 2020, the committed expenditure of these states as a percentage of the revenue receipt is higher than the national average of 36%. The total outstanding liabilities of Punjab, Rajasthan, West Bengal and Kerala are higher than the national average of 32.1%. Telangana also has the highest outstanding guarantees at 11.8% of the GSDP, while the national average stands at 6.6%. If we compare this with Gujarat and Karnataka, these two states have the lowest outstanding liabilities, with Gujarat at 0.15% and Karnataka at 1.44%. Before we move on, here's a clip from a recent public meeting of Aam Aadmi Party leader Arvind Kejriwal in Gujarat.
मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ, फ्री बिजली चाहिए नहीं चाहिए? क्यों नहीं चाहिए भाई फ्री बिजली?
The fact that people in Gujarat have a fair idea of freebie politics and how disastrous it can be was clearly evident here. Moving on. Now, since 2019, off-budget borrowings of the states have increased. Against the national average of 0.7%, Telangana has an off-budget borrowing of 4.65% of its GSDP. Since the pandemic period, this off-borrowing by states has increased significantly. So this year, the centre stepped up, put a cap of 3.5% on GSDP, that roughly means 8.57 trillion on off-budget borrowing, and will now equate this with the state government's debt. This major step by the Modi government will shed light and bring in much needed fiscal transparency in this area that has largely remained opaque. Coming to capital outlay, states like Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat and Karnataka have a higher percentage above that of national average. What does this indicate? These states are aiming for economic growth by utilizing borrowed funds to the fullest. The states with a better capital outlay have a better chance to meet the expenses during the period of distress. Again, here too, Punjab and Kerala steal the show as the worst performers, standing at 7.8% and 8.1%. While Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat have revenue surplus, Telangana and Punjab have revenue deficits. Also, UP is the only state in the country with a gross fiscal surplus. Important to note here that Uttar Pradesh saw a change in government in 2017. The BJP was voted to power then and again in 2022. If we look south, Tamil Nadu has the highest gross deficit. Recent surveys of world economists by Bloomberg have shown how India is at 0% risk of slipping into recession, owing to its sturdy economic measures despite global inflation in a post-pandemic world where wars have broken out, supply chains have been hit, energy prices in Europe are through the roof. The lessons are from the neighborhood. Yet, the freebie politics culture is being propagated by political parties simply to get elected, by hook or by crook. It is for the Janta to understand where such populist measures can push them in the long run. Hope you liked this video. Do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, this is Richa Dwivedi signing off. Dhanyavad and Namaste.